Check out what the satisfied Dan Gemus real estate team clients are saying about working with the Dan Gemus team. Visit dangemus.com.
I got to thank you for being a voice of reason in a sea of insanity.
Now back to the Dan Gemus Real Estate Show on AM800.
All right, welcome back to the show. Yes, I am Dan Gemus with the Dan Gemus team. Cassie Baggio in studio with me today. Cass, people are messaging asking about your spot last night. You were overnight in a hut.
Yes.
In Colchester. What's the name of the place again?
It's called Lunga Vita. L-U-N-G Avita. Sorry. I'm going to totally get it for you.
L-U-N-G Vita. Got it.
No, I'm going to totally get it for you because they're L-U-N-G-O-V-I-T-A Beach Retreat. Lunga Vita Beach Retreat. And they're these
huts.
They're like domes almost,
yes.
Actually. Like it was such an experience. Like go for an experience. It's fabulous. I will, totally advertise for you guys if you're listening.
No doubt.
It was great.
Free night coming up for Cass.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, yeah, so there you go. So hopefully that answers everyone's questions. People are excited about it. So cool. Next up, we have our landlord tip of the week. On the phone with us, Patrice Surette from Goldmar Property Management. Hey, Patrice, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Fantastic. She said hi, Cass.
Hi, Patrice. Nice to hear your voice.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So what's our topic today, Patrice?
Well, we're going to just talk about with the spring coming up and
Yes.
lots of people moving, and just wanted to talk a bit more about, move-in inspections, move-out inspections, how one affects the other, just that kind of general movement. Yeah.
Sure. So let's start with with move-in inspections.
Yep. So just very important for anyone doing a rental, you should start out the tenancy properly. Let's do a really good, thorough walkthrough, just like in real estate. You know how you do your final walkthrough, you're looking for things that are wrong. So on a move-in inspection, we're identifying, what's in good shape, and we're marking that down. We rank them good, poor, needs attention, and also the condition of the unit that we are giving it to the tenants in. So we even indicate the fridge is clean, the stove is clean,
right.
So that when they move out, you have a good starting reference point, because your tenants could live there a year, but they could live there for 3 or 4 years. You're not going to remember the condition of everything. So it's important to have it written down, both parties sign it, as well as having pictures. Now, a lot of times with a rental, you'll have pictures because you advertised it, but you may not have used the current one. So it's important to walk around, either do a little video or take pictures of things that are good, but also things that need attention or perhaps are existing. So as an example, with hardwood flooring, sometimes there's staining or there's scratches, some of the character, but what you want to do is establish the starting point of that tenancy that those things are already there, right? Or they're not, and everything is perfect and you've just refinished the floors. You want to make that comment in your move-in inspection so that when they move out, you can determine what is reasonable or excessive wear and tear, right? So people live in the house. Yeah, you're going to get scuffs on your walls because your couch is too close. That's just reasonable wear and tear versus a hole in the wall, right? Or a doorknob that's gone through and create a hole. Because all of those things are going to be an expense to you as a landlord when they move out, and you want to determine whether that's something that could be charged back to that tenant, right?
Now,
so protect both parties.
Yeah, one thing I want to ask Patrice, which is it's important to bring up, we cannot do security deposits in Ontario.
No, unfortunately, you can't do damage deposits. You can't do anything other than a key deposit. You can collect your first and last and a key deposit. And really, that's why your documentation is so important at the beginning of the tenancy, because it's really all we've got. So at the end of the tenancy, you use their last month's rent to pay the rent. You're now trying to build a case that you will have to take further to send to collections or small claims to get the damages back. So you're basically building your case, hoping for the best, but at least you have that. 3 years from then, you try and go back because they've damaged something and you want to recoup your money. You have to have that starting evidence proof at the beginning. So it's very important for both parties. Same with tenants, right? You want to document from a tenant's perspective what might be missing or what's broken, because you want to note it that was already there when I moved in, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the same when they move out, you take the same inspection and you walk through with the tenant and you mark down everything condition and you discuss it. Like in a best case scenario, you're both together and you discuss, okay, listen, I shouldn't have to be repainting this after a year, and you come up with an agreement where they'll reimburse you for that cost. Perfect scenario.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So tenant has moved in. They're now living there. What
Yep.
are some inspections we should consider while they're in the unit?
Yep. So if you want to make sure your furnace filters get changed, you could do it every 3 months, right? With the intention of changing your furnace filter. While you're in there, you're able to walk around and have a look at everything and make sure things are in good shape. Sometimes they'll do it every 6 months because you're going to change your smoke detector battery, or at least you're checking it. So best case every 3, but you can do it every 6 months, kind of a spring and fall, and you're just checking, condition. Walk around, check your eaves troughs, check your downspouts before it floods your basement. Like, look and see if your downspouts are clogged, right? Check if your air conditioner is clean and doesn't need to be power washed out before the AC season when it burns out your air conditioner, right? So if you can do a lot of that preventatively, saves a lot of repair in the end.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and it's always good to go in. You don't want to go in an excessive amount of time. You have to respect it's someone's home, but every 3 months is not excessive, and it lets you see the condition that they're living in, and hopefully correct it while it's an active tenancy, not after the fact and think, oh my God, I haven't been in here in years, and look at what it looks like, right? So it kind of gets you a good understanding of how things are, and then hopefully while it's still a tenancy, you can discuss repairs or how they could do things differently or better to prevent those damages when they move out.
Now, I was going to say, if God forbid you walk into the unit and there is some major damage, what steps would you take at that point?
So the first step you would do is assessing that damage. You could come back, bring a contractor, bring whoever's going to do those repairs, get a quote, and you can absolutely ask that tenant. Basically, the form would be an N5 because it's a reasonable enjoyment of the landlord, meaning they've damaged the property. But in the N5, you put the amount of what those repairs are going to be. So the first thing right away, you have to do your quotes, figure out the broken window. It's going to be X number, $2,000. That goes in the N5. That gives the tenant a chance to rectify it by reimbursing you before you even do the repair. But worst case, you do the repair, and now you would have to proceed through LTB to collect it. Because you can get an order for it that says they have to pay for that. Yep. And that goes back to your inspection, though, right? You want to make sure you have that inspection that says that window is not broken when they moved in.
Right. Someone has texted in, said, tell the tenants the appliances are their responsibility to fix, or don't supply so you don't get a call in the middle of the night if it's broke.
Yeah. And I mean, that wouldn't be an emergency, so they shouldn't be calling in the middle of the night, but yes, sometimes they do. Now, it is hard, though. Yeah, he's right. If you, or whoever wrote in, if you supply them in the beginning, it is your responsibility to keep them in working order. So you either don't supply them, but that's difficult because a lot of tenants don't have money to buy appliances necessarily, and they're not, unless they're coming from a home maybe, and they're bringing their appliances. Makes the rental part a little bit harder. But yes, if you supply them, you have to maintain them.
Yeah, I would venture to guess, and just like you said, right, the majority of rental apartments have appliances already included.
They do. Yep.
Tenants don't want to.
And I mean, some landlords will go the new route. They'll put in new appliances so that there's warranties for any kind of repairs like that for a couple years at least. But if they're older, it is unfortunately the landlord's responsibility to maintain them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, and finally, the move-out inspection, the importance of that.
So same thing. Ideally, you would schedule that when they give notice. We usually try and do it about 45 days before they are leaving, just to do a preliminary walkthrough so we can tell an owner what you can expect you're going to have to do to get it re-rented again. And then at the very end of the tenancy, when you go, you meet them, you get their keys, you schedule a time and say, I'm going to need 10 or 15 minutes of your time, and we're going to do this walkthrough as well. Now, if you collect a key deposit, it's a good way to get them to stay with you, right? And you have their key deposit ready to refund them once they hand you the keys, but it kind of gives them a reason to stick around too. A lot of tenants will say, oh, I'll leave them on the counter, and you don't want that. You'd like them to be there for you to do that walkthrough because you'd like their signature on it. If you can get your signature on that move-out inspection, that's more help for you if you have to pursue it because they're acknowledging what you've written down.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes
totally.
Yeah. What are you seeing generally in the market right now from a rental standpoint? Prices continue to go up?
Continue to go up, and lots of demand. Like that battery plant is absolutely what they said with bringing in the workers. More short, well, not short, but midterm rentals we call them. They're hesitant to sign a lease for the most part because their contracts are different. But tons and tons of people coming in, which is great. And then the students are starting to come back because it's May. So we're getting lots of activity out there.
So Patrice, what do you recommend for someone out there who, again, is on minimum wage? They might not be able to afford that, $2,500 a month rental. What are you finding them right now? Like what's out there for those folks?
We're finding what people are doing is actually just getting back into having roommates.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they went away from that, and especially during COVID, everyone was scared to have roommates and people they didn't know, and now it's just a necessity that people are getting back into. They'll rent a bigger home in a nice area, but they'll get 2 or 3 roommates, right? And they share the cost. That's what we're seeing. So that's just people are doing what they need to do. Because, even room rentals are expensive now. There's not a lot of them even. 1-bedrooms are getting expensive. So people are just having creative ways to make it work.
Now, there's a report out from rentals.ca. We'll talk about it a bit more tomorrow, but it's got the average rent in Windsor, Essex. I want to see if you agree with these numbers. Sure. It has average rent for a 1-bedroom at $1,631. A 2-bedroom at $1,930. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at St. Catherine. I'm sorry. $1,556 for Windsor for a 1-bedroom. Yeah. $1,926 for a 2-bedroom on average. And $2,027 average for a 3-bedroom. Is that pretty accurate?
The ones are pretty, 1-bedrooms I say are accurate because the 1-bedrooms have had a huge increase in rental rate. 2-bedrooms I find high, but I think that's because there's a lot of new builds, and that's the price pointing for those new builds, for sure. Yeah. But there's still a lot, like our 2-bedrooms would be anywhere, we've got some for $1,750 for 2. Plus your utilities. So, your total cost might be up to 19, but we have very few 2s that would be up that high.
It's showing a studio or bachelor apartment for $1,330 average price.
Yeah.
$1,300.
Again, that's lack of demand. Lack of supply. Lack of supply. Yeah, that in 1-bedrooms. Lots of 2s. Like I think with the new builds, everybody built 2 bedrooms. So, there's lots and lots of 2-bedrooms. But the ones in the bachelors are very hard to find. Bachelors, especially. I haven't had a bachelor apartment forever. So,
wow. And we see them for $500-$600 a month.
Yeah, they used to be cheap.
Oh yeah. You couldn't find people for them, right? And now it's such a scarcity because they are on the lowest. Even room rentals, though. Our room rentals are. Well, my last one I think was close to $900.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Oh. Yep.
What are you finding for student rentals? Like per
student
room?
Rentals are sitting in depending if it's in a house but we've got them up to $750, sometimes $8, depends if it includes Wi-Fi. Some landlords are including some of those like extras, right? Yeah, so they'll furnish the living room, they'll put in a TV, they're including the Wi-Fi, which is nice. They have common area cleaning. So students are paying that because, for them, it's worth an extra $50.
Don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's just done.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, it's done. And for landlords, I was just telling an agent that, if you can encourage your owners that common area cleaning benefits the tenants, but also will prevent you from a big pest control bill later. Because if nobody's keeping an eye on that, you're going to have an expense either way, right? Yeah. So you may as well get some eyes in there every 2 weeks and just keep that kitchen clean. Make sure that they're taking their garbage out, things like that, because that will prevent your pest control issues in the future. Because it happens, right? We have a lot of rats here. We have, absolutely. So if they're not disposing their garbage, that's going to just escalate into a much bigger problem. So every 2 weeks, go in yourself or pay someone to go in. It's not a huge expense in the long term. Yeah, and keeps your property looking better.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Patrice, if anyone has questions about property management services, how do they reach out to the team at Goldmar?
On our website at goldmar.ca, or you can give us a call at the office, 519-252-5010.
Fantastic. Patrice, thanks as always.
You're welcome. Bye.
Of course. See you soon. It's Patrice Surette, owner of Goldmar Property Management. So we're going to take a break, come back. We're going to give away the gift card for the Richmond Popcorn Company. You can still text to win if you'd like. The keyword is SALTY, S-A-L-T-Y, SALTY, with your first and last name to 10800. We'll give that away right after the break, right here on the Dan Gemus Real Estate Show.